It's that time. The Brightside Chronicles is about to go down with Kerri and Nana. You ready for the show to begin?
Hey, let's go. Let's get it. It's almost showtime. Let's go. Let's get it. It's almost go time. Let's freaking go.
Let's go is right. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to episode 16 of the Brightside Chronicles. And just in time for one of my absolute kids to show up and join us.
Let's go.
I know. I'm so excited. Anyway, for our listening audience, Nana and I created this show to really highlight people who have found joy in different activities and creative endeavors and how they use that joy that they've cultivated and tapped into to navigate everyday life, because so often we hear narratives that are fear-based and surrounded in, separation and division rather than inclusivity and understanding. And so I am thrilled to welcome a beautiful soul, a friend of Nana's and mine, Liz. I don't know your last name. I do, but I don't remember.
Greene.
Liz Greene. Okay. To the show today. And I'm so honored that you're coming to play in our playground today, Liz.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yo,
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. First and foremost, I'm excited that this thing actually worked because I was like, yo, I'm not missing this. Like, there's no way. There's no way I'm missing this. I had to do
It's
it
so
for it.
funny. I was telling Liz, I'm like, Nana's computer is ancient. I keep telling him to get a new one, but he'd rather spend money on cosplay, which I can't blame him for because it brings you joy.
Yes,
Right?
You
yes.
get it.
But definitely, I might have to look into that because this thing is Anyhow, but we're doing good.
The Scruggs bus is real. So before we dive into the meat of the show and all the yumminess around it, can both of you share when something you're celebrating about this week with the listening audience and me? Because I want to know.
Oh, I'm gonna let Liz go first. First.
Celebrating this week. What am I celebrating? I'm excited because actually, as we'll talk about, I have some pole friends, and one of them has produced her own pole show. It is Kim's Titty Tour happening in Marlborough on Saturday, and I'm so excited because me and a bunch of her community is going to go and support her on Saturday, and I just can't wait. She's one of the instructors at Paradigm. Another instructor will be performing, Jolene, and they're just freaking amazing, and I can't wait to see them perform.
I love that.
Damn. I mean, what do I have to talk about? I mean, I had a great con. Like, I got to hang out with some really amazing friends this past weekend. It was just super awesome because just being a collective group of people, we all just intermingled, and it was just great vibes from the beginning to the end of the con. And it's always like oh my God, I got to go back to reality type moment when like it's all over. But then it makes you excited for the next one that does come up. So like, I mean, so many great things are happening with just like the world of like cosplay, and then obviously like family wise, little brother's heading down to Houston, Texas.
Shout out Armani.
Which is crazy. Like, I'm like, yo, little bro actually really is like living his life. And I love that. I love that for him because I want him to experience that there's a lot more life out there. I try to do that on a daily basis with the help of obviously Kerri and, just things of that nature. But I'm excited for his big move to go figure out his life and figure out what makes sense to him. So, yeah.
I love that so
That's awesome.
And side note, I'm also eating chocolate Maltesers. I'm mad hungry, so if y'all see me like pop things in my mouth, it's because of this.
Hey, does it bring you joy? Because if so, there you go. So I'm celebrating our daughter's 16th birthday, and shared with Liz offline is just being able to bear witness to really the incredible heart that our both our daughters have, like their
Mhm.
kindness and their compassion, their resilience. And so, as parents, we both put forth a lot of effort along with other people, because I truly believe our kids were raised by a community, but
Right.
uh, to really help support their individuality and showing up and honoring what feels right for them. And so I'm celebrating that we've been blessed to bear witness to the gift of Billy. So that's
Mm.
my win.
Mhm.
All right, so let's dig in. So for the listening
Yes.
audience, me and Nana met Liz at the gym, and I
Put
always
in work.
put
Yes.
in. I know
Yes, as you should.
I always saw her putting in work, and I don't care who's out there listening. We all know we check everybody out. Like, I'm always checking out the girls' booties. I'm always like, Nana, I could work toward getting that booty,
You
or
see it before I do. That's the funny part.
all the time. And so, like, I always admired your work ethic. And then we started talking, and I learned that you're a mental health clinician, which, hello, given the fact that I'm in addiction and mental health recovery, right up my
Mhm.
alley. Um, can you first share with the listening audience what brings you joy around being of service to people
Mm.
in that capacity? Because it's not a job for the faint of heart.
Um, so what brings me joy in that is that I can hopefully bear witness to
Mhm.
someone else's healing.
Mm. Mm.
Because
Mm.
you know, I think the the thing that I like strive for is that people can heal, right?
Mhm.
Like that they can find their way, especially when they're feeling lost.
Correct.
And
Correct.
um we've seen, unfortunately, for some people, they can stay stuck,
Mhm.
um and so it's such a magical time when you see people get unstuck, and hopefully
Mm.
you can create a space where they can do that,
Mm.
so I mean, being able to work with people, being able to feel like to be trusted with that, and to hopefully help in any way I can, them on their journey. Like it's it's so meaningful. It's like that is not the job. Like
Mhm.
there is heaviness, right? Like there's stress around it, but like the job for me is the stupid paperwork. Like
I know.
yeah, like
Mm. Felt
Nancy,
that.
that's
you said
that.
I felt that.
I tell
Yeah,
people I believe in energetic contracts, and that's what
yeah,
we go with. Because if you
yeah.
think that I'm filling out paperwork, you out your mind. Well, you know what? I do want to highlight two things that you said that I absolutely love. And it's very interesting because on my way back with our daughter earlier tonight, she said to me, she's like, Mom, I give you so much credit. I don't know how you do what you do. And
Mm.
I said something so similar. And for me, the listening audience, some people know about my journey. I'm very open about it. And I shared with her, I'm like, I remember being in the trenches of suffering and that deep ideology of feeling unworthy, not good enough. And so if
Yeah,
I can be the lifeline or the person who can love you in the messy middle, and
yeah,
then bear witness to you as you take actions and small
yeah,
micro steps to break out of that and
yeah,
step into who you've always been, but has
yeah,
been masked by
yeah,
society expectations, family narratives, all the but
yeah,
then I couldn't ask for a more rewarding and fulfilling job, even on
yeah.
days where I have to practice extra, extra, extra
Yes.
self because it is heavy, you know?
There are those days, but you're right.
Mhm.
Like there's a level of which of I never I never leave work. I might leave work drained, but I never leave work not feeling fulfilled.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I never leave work thinking like, well, that didn't matter. You know what I mean? And like, and there's that's the part of the job that gives me joy. I feel very lucky to be able to have a job that
Mm,
allows for that, because I think there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that does not feel that for their unfortunately, like, their path.
right,
And it let's face it, we're humans, we want meaning, right? Like,
correct.
and so, like, it's nice to be able to have the privilege to be able to do that,
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I
I
love
love
what you're
that.
talking about, like the fulfillment piece of it, because like
Yeah.
you know, what I mean, like ultimately, like so, let's say with Kerri's job,
Mm,
she's constantly helping out clients, dealing with the thick of things. And I've seen it numerous
yeah.
times on numerous occasions. And I'm like, babe, I honestly give you credit. Like the same thing with Billy said. Was it Billy or was it Jules?
Billy.
Okay, I figured it was because she a right that partner right there, real quick. But it was cool because like it shows that you put in the work constantly, and it's not only just for like one client; it's for numerous clients. You're
Yeah.
constantly giving, 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 and it's nice to kind of be like, I made an impact in somebody's life that helped them shift their narrative of who they thought they were as a person. It happens all the time, even with my line of work. Wise when
Yeah.
people come in and it's like, you know, they see the whole like dealership is busy dealing with people that don't have the most strongest
Babe,
credit.
you keep going in and out, my love.
It-
Yeah, I think just because you're moving the. There
okay,
you go.
my fault, my
Yeah.
fault. But
Yeah.
basically, what I was saying is basically like just dealing with just different people that sometimes it seems like it's like a bleak thing of like you're not able to get them approved, not knowing that there's always some kind of little hope if you put it out there. It normally does help to like shift that narrative, and you know somebody gets approved on something that they never thought they were gonna get approved on. Like, oh man, like
Yeah.
you guys really helped out that situation. So the fulfillment is a huge thing to make sure that you can feel like you've made an impact on somebody's life, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
love that so much. And you're right, babe. Like I watch you get super excited. And I think something that is my favorite part of watching you in your role is,
Hmm.
I mean, you and I obviously are huge manifestors. We
Hmm.
study energy. Well, I study it and continue to share it with you. Um, but watching you kind of prove to your team leaders or other people,
Mm,
don't count your chickens before they hatch, like don't give
correct.
up. And that's super helpful because that really allows, that's teaching other people, which again, the work that all three of us do in our own way, whether it's through cosplaying or Dungeons and Dragons, which we'll get into, or doing full, it's not only are we showing up in service to ourselves, we're embodying that experience, which gives other people permission to potentially
Correct.
shift the way they view the world and how they see themselves. So I love that so much. So
Hmm.
let's
Absolutely.
pivot real quick, because I mean we got to get into the meat of joy. Hello, like I love my joy, but it's not the only thing that fills my cup.
Yeah.
What was the driving force? Like, when did you say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna go study pole
Sorry
dance"?
for anything. Hmm.
um so uh I will try to not make this too long.
No, you're good. You
So
just
It,
said yourself.
oh,
You're good.
the platform is yours.
yeah.
No, we are enjoying your conversation. Go ahead. Do your thing.
um, so health was always kind of a back burner thing growing up. I saw a lot of people get, sick. I had worked in nursing homes when I was like in my early 20s. Until basically I worked in nursing homes until I became a therapist.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and I have like diabetes that runs on both sides of the family. Like, there's just a myriad of things. And so, not I didn't grow up athletic. In fact, I was far from it. But as I got older, the big thing that kind of just got instilled in me was that, like, I need to do something. I can't just sit on this and just be worried that I am going to kind of have these issues.
Hmm.
And so, just like anyone else, it was difficult in the beginning. I would start something and it would go away and blah blah blah. Um, and um, and so slowly over time, like, I had gotten into running, and I was into running for a while. And then actually, kind of like a frog leap kind of thing that kind of happened. It was like I got into running, and then I got into cross training for running, because if
What?
you run races, if you cross train, you become a better runner. So I had cross trained, and then I started liking weights, so I started doing that. And then um many years ago, before I got married, I'd heard about pole. I forgot how, but like I tried it a little bit, was in it a little bit, but then got out of it,
Mhm.
and then went back to running and cross training, and um, and then about, oh god, it's almost been 2 years. About 2 years ago, I was about to turn 40,
Okay.
and I was feeling old and frumpy, even though I was running, and I was like, you know what, like I need to cross train again, because I had done one half marathon. I was signed up to do another half marathon, and I was like, I need to do something. But I was like, I was kind of out of like, I don't want another personal trainer. I'll do
For
something
yourself.
else. So I got
Yeah.
back into pole. That totally worked backwards, because what happened was like I got back into pole. I was like, this is great. I forgot how much is great, right? So I started cross training for pole.
Wait, what?
Yes, I
Yes, he
started
was
cross
training
training
with
for
Malcolm.
pole.
Yep.
What
Yes.
the fuck?
So
I remember that.
yeah. So like I joined Crunch, because Crunch had more like, I'd been at like Planet Fitness, but Planet Fitness has a lot more cardio than
Correct.
weights.
Correct.
So then I found Crunch Fitness, and I got in, and they suckered me. They were like, well, you can do a personal, and I had done personal training before, so it's like, oh, I'll try it. And Malcolm's just amazing. Like
Yes, he's
Love
he's a good
Malcolm.
one.
he's
He's a good one.
such ball of great energy. Like,
Yep.
how can you not love somebody that like at 6 a.m. is like, good
Let's
morning,
go.
every time you see them? Like,
Yep.
Shout out to Malcolm. Shout out to Malcolm for that.
right? Um, and then it's like, here's this like 50-pound weight, and you're like, what? And he's like, I do it because I care. Like, so good.
Yo.
So I started training with him, and at first my goals were around running, but then like being the age I am, my doctor's like, so your knees, Liz, your knees. I was like, yeah, yeah. So I still run on occasion, but I don't run races anymore. But I got more into weights, because I got super excited, because Malcolm is just like, he's like,
Yeah.
yo, and he started giving me muscles, and I was like, I fucking have muscles. I never had muscles before. I was like,
Yes.
yeah, God, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Let's go.
so I was kind of doing that, and then like I said, I had joined pole because I wasn't actually I wasn't feeling great about myself, and I was like,
Mm,
guess what will challenge it? I was like, being
mm.
in front of a full length mirror wearing not much, like,
Yeah.
like let's face it,
Yo.
like, so I was like, okay, I'll do this, and I fell in love with it, and it's funny, going into it, I was just like, you know what, this will just be something to challenge my negative self-talk, and like
Mm.
it'll be something fun that's
Yeah.
athletic that I will do. But I just keep progressing more. I'm doing a lot more than I thought I would be able to do.
Oh yeah.
So I was like very excited, and so I've just kind of gone with it, and I'm super excited. Like, I was like, oh, I'll probably be an intro forever, and like I've been in pole 2. I've
Yep.
been doing shows. I was telling you, Kerri, like I submitted some stuff for some community shows. And
It happened.
haven't gotten into any of those yet, but I got into a competition which I did not expect to get into. Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm not. It's like, it would be cool if I won, but I'm not worried about winning. I'm
Correct.
I'm just like,
You want to
this
enjoy
will
it.
be an interesting experience. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never
Love
done it. I
that.
didn't think I was
Yep.
going to do it. I have a bunch of friends who are doing it, so that'll be super fun. Um, so yeah, that's
So okay. So
Okay.
first off, Nana and I had the privilege of seeing you perform as
yeah.
Deadpool
Correct. Oh my gosh.
for performance.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, pole dancing really is an art form. Can you like I think that, there can be these misconceptions
Yeah.
around body image
Yes.
or, making it super sexualized, which I'm sure some people do, but
Yeah.
Nan and I found it like very artistic and creative. And so
Yeah.
can you share with the listening audience a little bit about what your experience is having struggled with either negative self-talk or body image,
Sure.
and how that experience really fostered more self-confidence rather than diminished it?
Yeah,
And
no. So first of all, I have to say, back in the day, from what I've heard from other people who have been in pole much longer than I have, that was not
mhm,
always like it. The community now is very different.
okay.
So the community used to be more competitive, like regular dancers or gymnasts or that kind of thing. But over time, it's gotten way more like body positive
Shout out.
and much
Shout out.
more
Shout out.
um hello, much more body positive, much more um welcoming. And I will give a shout out to Paradigm Pole and all its
Please do.
instructors, especially Raina Gold, Jolene, Jill, Kim, Maggie. Like, they are fucking amazing. Um, they have fostered such a welcoming, comforting, safe community in their studio.
Yeah.
One of the first classes I had come back to pole, um, Raina, I love her. I'm like trying to do something. I forgot what evil was, but I was struggling with it, and I have big thighs, like I just do. But she looks at me and she's like, "Thick thighs save lives," and I was just like,
Yes.
"I
Took
love
the
you."
words out of my mouth.
I love
Yes.
you and
Let's
thank
go.
you. And it was like so kind of like, and they're really good at kind of being like, you might be struggling with something because everybody's body is different, and we
Right.
will figure out how something will work for your
For you.
body. Not that you have to do it in this way. As long as it's safe, they very much promote like you can figure out ways to do it that work for your body, and that it's
Mm.
not you have to conform and look like this to do this.
Yeah.
Woo.
And they're so amazing at doing that and being welcoming and being just so much of a safe space for people. And you will see all kinds of people. You see men, you see women, you see all sizes, all shapes, all different interests. Like, some people are more into more sexualized, or
Mhm.
some people are uh more into the like artistic. Some
Right.
people are more into, but there's room for all of it.
Yeah.
And you just see people's personalities, and you see an avenue for people to take that.
Yeah.
And it's so great to see, because you can see almost like in a physical artistic form people's
Mhm.
growth in that,
Ooh.
for
Ooh.
sure.
Well, I want to just say first and foremost, like when we watched your performance and everything, it was hell of impressive because I'm like, yo, like the upper body strength and just the strength in general that you
Yeah.
need to like. I think people see like pole dancing and they're just like, oh, you just spin around and like you just like that's it. And I'm like, no, there's a technique. I try to do it,
Yeah.
and Kerri, me
Yeah.
and Kerri were both struggling on it. I was like, yo, babe, this is not easy. I'm like, people are like holding themselves like sideways and like spinning and upside. I'm like, nah, this is a lot of like dedication to the craft of it and just like
Yeah.
understanding how the body works of like just knowing where to distribute the weight if need be for whatever
Yes.
movement that you're trying to achieve,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're super strong and you can be super strong, but that doesn't necessarily mean you
culminate
could
to that.
do moves.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and there is a lot of all the instructors are really good about really understanding body mechanics.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, like, they will tell you exactly, like, okay, you know what? I see that you're doing this. This is where you're making the mistake. You got to feel it
Mm,
here in this muscle. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the huge thing behind it. And they're so smart, like they can just look at how
look
you're
at
doing something and be like, and they'll tell you this one little thing that you didn't even notice. And then you're just like, oh,
it. Yo.
So real quick, for the listening audience, we have the
Shut
privilege
up.
and pleasure of being joined by Ian Matthew Harrington, who happens to be my cousin and somebody I very much wanted to introduce Liz to because of another passion that Liz is super
Oh, we
into
getting this. Let's
is
go.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
So
yes.
welcome, Ian. Thanks for joining.
I did not bomb into this party to take over. I just wanted to hear Liz speak. I was just like, I didn't even know what you were talking about, and but the gestalt of it was to talk about belonging and how no matter who you are, no matter what your body situation, there's a methodology that could work for you.
Right.
And until Nana said pole dancing, I was just like, this is a beautiful environment. This is a beautiful thing I should be a part of.
Let's go.
Okay, pole dancing.
Yeah.
Yo.
So
Yeah.
my brain's tripping out of my ears, but that sounds fantastic. And I was riveted hearing what you had to say. And that's why I dropped in the chat the word bio-uniqueness. Just this word that keeps coming up in my work around recognizing that we each have different paths. We each have different things that are optimal for us and ways that we need to be personally served in order to reach our potential. So
I'm going to jump in real quick because I always got something to say about bio-uniqueness or neurospicy or all of the things. Guys, we're 8 billion plus different people. We were never meant to conform and fit into a box. And it's figuring out what your jam is, what brings you joy, and leaning into it, which is the whole reason Nana and I have this show in the first place. So, for me, who has zero clue at all about gaming or Dungeons and Dragons, please.
How do you not?
I don't. But also for the listening audience, what I love is you've taken something that brings you joy and you brought it to people who are maybe struggling for connection and have social anxiety and married the two to make it connection accessible through what brings people joy. So please share with the listening audience a little bit about that.
Yes.
Okay, so I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons for 14 years. So I didn't start when I was a kid. I started okay. So I had moved out to Boston and I didn't know anybody. And I was in a relationship that did not work out. And then I was in Boston basically by myself and I didn't know anybody. The one thing that was around, I was living in JP, was JP Comics. Every Thursday they would have a game night. And so I would go, I would hang out, I would play games, and that's how I got into like more strategic gaming and slowly got more into games. A friend's husband has played D&D his whole life, so he, like, once I started, me and him started working on her to play games, she started playing games, and then I got my now husband to play, he's always played games, but he got more into it. And we actually have a campaign my friend's husband has been running for us for like 10 years now.
Wow.
We play like once a month because they have kids now, so it's a little difficult to get together, but like we play like once a month. But like one of the big things that I found through gaming for my personal self was that it helped me find community when I didn't have one. It was, for my own experience, it was a safe way to meet people. I'm awkward. You guys have seen me. I'm awkward. Like
we're all little friends of awkward, but very good.
I think honestly, if you're authentically you're always going to come off across as awkward to somebody because it's so outrageous to another person's senses.
Yeah. So what I found for myself is it gave kind of like a safe barrier to, not barrier because that sounds kind of like closed, but more of like a safe avenue to meet people, to learn about people, for them to learn about you. to eventually maybe we'll be friends out of this. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Or not. Maybe I just see you every Thursday night at the comic store. You know what I mean? But like you have that way. I think one of the barriers anyway, so over time I played more and more. I started learning about DMing because I started getting to a point in like communities that like everybody wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, but there's no DMs. You know what I'm talking about. So I was just like,
Thank
fuck
God
it.
he does, because I'm like DM, I'm like direct message.
So-
Am I like hidden
so-
trafficking? What up?
Sorry for the lingo.
Please.
DM means Dungeon Master.
Dungeon Master.
Master is the person that puts together
Why
the
did I
game.
know
Now,
this? I don't even play D&D, but I knew that for some odd reason. But yes.
And Dungeon Master is they run the game, but the game itself is a storytelling game with everyone. But the DM helps put it together and set things up, you know. And so I started getting into that a little bit, and then during the pandemic, I found out it was like on Facebook. Like I saw this company, it's called Geek Therapeutics, and they were advertising for certifications for teachers and like mental health providers to become certified to use. And it's not just Dungeons and Dragons. It's like video games, it's anime, it's shows, it's comics, it's everything. But to utilize those things as a kind of like a vessel to either teach or to promote techniques. So it's not a theory on its own. You would still use something like CBT or whatever if you're using it for therapeutic service reasons or something like that. Or if you're teaching something, you'd use as an avenue to teach something. But it's a way to like bring that in, integrate that, and then give it. And it was kind of new, so like they were still doing a lot of research on it, but there's a good amount of research that shows that like even the newer research that shows that kind of like it's the old saying, right? Give honey makes the medicine go down, right? Like you get more motivation, you get more people who are interested or invested, right? So in the pandemic, I was like, I need CEUs. I love games. This is a no-brainer. So like I did the program. I am a therapeutic dungeon master. I am also an official certified geek therapist. And coming out of the pandemic, and actually I will side note, I was hearing complaints about this even before the pandemic, but I work with a lot of adults now, a lot of adults that have like trauma or anxiety or depression or addiction, like that kind of thing. And a lot of the complaints I was getting from people just kind of outside of like that was like, how do you make adult friends? How do you make adult friends? Right? Like, and I was just like, yeah. And one of the biggest things you'll see in a lot of research, like for example, the book The Body Keeps Score, they talk about your community being such a key factor in helping diminish the possibility of developing PTSD. But you can't, like, as a kid, we're always put in situations where you're around people doing the same thing all the time. So whether you're friends or not, you always have a community experiencing the same thing. As an adult, you don't really have that manufactured for you. And so a lot of people have not figured out how to be more conscious about doing that. So I took my own experience of like, how do you make friends? I was like, well, I make friends by playing games. Like I make friends by like going to events or cons or like that kind of stuff. Like, so I was like, well, I have this certification. I'm going to use it. Like so I started, and I'm not the first one to make this, but I decided to make Dungeons and Dragons basically therapeutic group for people with like trauma, PTSD, depression, anxiety, neurodivergence, whatever, and in order to teach some social skills, but also have the experience. So the way it's run is like on an official capacity is it's like I create a curriculum, I have like a fall and spring semester, I have there's like how I structure the group is there is like a check it like every regular sessions other than session 0, which session 0 for people who don't know is like your initial like consent and what is people comfortable with and what are the safety rules around the game. But outside of that, I have like an hour and a half, and so in that hour and a half I'll teach a skill, and then I'll have people check in and just see how their week is going, and then we play D&D for an hour. And the D&D play is a opportunity for them to have the option to play out or try to use some of the skills they're learning. And then what happens is afterwards we debrief, you know what I mean? And basically it's I kind of explain it as like it's one thing in therapy to talk to somebody and say like, hey, you should go out and you should meet people and you should do this and you should, but sometimes a barrier is they have too much stuff in their head to even do that. That's too big of a step. Right. And it's too much real life consequences if you fuck up, right? Where it's like, if you're like, I always joke around, I'm like, if you go out to a bar and you hang out with a friend and you mess up and you feel like it messes up the relationship, like that really sucks. You're not going to try to do that again. But if I'm my character in a tavern trying to joke with the bartender and it doesn't go well, my real life is not affected. Right? Like, so there's that less of that barrier. It's like distance learning. So they talk a lot about in play therapy. And so it's a lot of working on it through that distance learning. You have an opportunity to practice without the kind of consequences feeling so high. And yeah, so on a work level, that's what I do with D&D. But then on a personal level, like I love D&D. Like I run way too many games right now. My husband will attest to it. He's like, what? Why? I'm part of a local community that is just for fun. It's called the Community Gaming Coalition. It's Western Mass. It's a bunch of people who have decided to like take over breweries every so often. And in fact, tonight they have an event. I'll be at Greater Good from like probably 8 to 10. And we get a bunch of people who are willing to run games, and then people can just show up and play games and hang out. And again, just the whole group was meant to, like, Jake is and a bunch of his friends were the bunch of the ones that created the Community Gaming Coalition. It started at Redemption Rock, which we're very, very sad that they're gone, because they're the ones that really pushed it, and we branched out, and unfortunately Redemption Rock is no longer, but we owe it to them, and it has allowed us to have this space to like grow the community and have it.
I want to jump in though. I want to jump in to highlight for the listening audience a couple of things, that I think are really important. You recognize the need within yourself that needed to get filled, right? You felt like either isolation or disconnection, or you lacked community. And so you took an action. Now, one might say your action was maybe bolder than some people are ready for, and that's okay. But what I really want to highlight is you actively sought situations that could meet your need. And I think when we're talking about joy, when we feel unfulfilled, what I am constantly encouraging people to do is to play, just like you said, try new things. It may not be the thing for you, but at least you're continuing to try things so that you could potentially have an experience that feels really, really fulfilling. So that's super important to highlight. And secondly, you mentioned offline. Not only have you created this community within your professional life to support these adults, but you were just sharing with me that you have partnered up with the library to support teens who may face social anxiety through gaming at the library. And so I want to highlight that too, again, because I think that as we discover and tap into what brings us joy, we do utilize that joy to foster other people's ability to tap into joy. For example, right, Liz, you and I do very similar work, and yet I'm attracting people who like skulls, who may jump on the bike, who, and to your point, you're able to bridge that gap, maybe teaching tools through the use of Dungeons and Dragons, whereas most likely I'm dropping F-bombs, I'm definitely laughing, and so you show up and meet the needs of the individual through the things that we find joyful for ourselves. So that's super important and something I really want to highlight. So thank you for that. And Nana, you do the same thing.
Yeah, to jump off of that, because I definitely also want to hear Ian's thought on the whole Dungeons and Dragons as well too. But the reason why I bring this up is because when I was at PAX East, this is like a month ago, and PAX East is like a big video game, like card game, anime, Comic-Con type feel, but it's more video game oriented. I remember walking past a group of people playing like D&D and stuff like that, and this gentleman, I probably said this in the previous podcast before, but there was this gentleman that literally, I was like, yo, like, I like the shirt. I think he had like a Family Guy shirt on, and I thought it was funny. So Family Guy, can't go wrong with that. But what it was is that he's playing D&D, and I asked him, I was like, what you guys playing? He's like, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh, my friend plays that. I don't know too much about it, but tell me about it. And he was like, yeah, like we just run like campaigns. So that's how I kind of knew about like DM and things of that nature, just from that conversation with him. But what I got from the conversation with him was he told me that this is his therapeutic moment, like he looks forward to this event every year because that's the time frame that he gets to hang out with his buddies that like he doesn't get to see on a regular, because he's an adult. He has kids. He has 3 kids. And so that weekend of PAX East, he looks forward to, because it's like catch up with old friends that you hadn't seen in some time. And that's their therapy. And I was like, that's so interesting. And I was like, have you ever thought about going to like other meetups and stuff like that? And he's like, yeah, he does a couple of them, but it was just like that one is like their Super Bowl, in the sense of like, oh man, everybody brings like their best game, and it's like this is the time for you to like showcase your your techniques and things of that nature that you've harnessed the whole year. So I thought it was just pretty interesting that like it came up now, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. But yeah, that's like my little 2 cents on it.
There's no everything's synchronistic. So I love that. I'm curious because I always know my amazing thought-provoking cousin has
Let's do this.
Finally joined the bright side.
Yeah.
I saw you taking notes. He was like,
I vibe with so much with what Liz was saying, and I'm glad you had an opportunity at PAX East, Nana. That is important, man. I see you glow all over the place. Your Chun-Li was chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. Liz, so I have a background in theater. I did theater all through college, and so that was an easy thing for me to transition into my adult life doing, right? And I actually worked for a theater company upon exiting college. And so in terms of finding community beyond college, that was where I did it, right? But so many adults are trying to find community in bars and in places where there's a bit more of a transactional or in some cases a transactional interest as opposed to a relational interest, right? And and so, but theater has offered a lot, like you were describing with the pole dancing community, a place for everyone, right? If you're technically inclined and don't want to be on stage, there are opportunities for you in stage management and decking and building costumes and writing plays, etc.
Yeah.
And so that was really my first place of finding community amongst people who were not like me necessarily. But as I was 13 years old or 11 years old, my stepbrother Jamal and I discovered this red box called Dungeons and Dragons at a comic book shop up in Toronto, and we just cracked it open. We started playing, just the two of us, and it's just like a very special person in my life at a special time in my life, like our early adolescence. If you try to listen to music from your 11 to 14s, you're just gonna love it, right? Like that's you just like, yes,
Like,
this is the best music in the fucking
I'm
world.
going to see the
Why isn't everyone
Offspring.
listening
Give
to
it to me, baby. I'm
Yes,
ready.
absolutely. Extend on the ombre, and so but that's where I met my gaming friends, and my friends who I went through kindergarten with. We're still connected virtually now because one's in Denver, one lives in Worcester. I'm in one lives in Holden, Mass. I'm in Mansfield, Connecticut. It's like there's no way for us to pull together on a weekly basis physically. Correct. But we do it virtually, and I'm the DM for that group. Finding opportunities to find your tribe, to find those people where you know that you belong, right? And with all your, I'm talking about some of the members of my group with, like unproductive relationships and degenerate gambling and, poor choices with substances or body image issues or challenges with identity and making friends. Here's a place where you belong and you're not judged. You're just served with community. That's so critical. And it's a layer of self-care that you're talking about, because not everyone's open to, not everyone's ready for therapy. Yeah. Not everyone's ready to or interested in a coach or has the finances for a coach, right? But community needs to always be there, I would say, for everyone.
Which is why Nana and I started this show, because we both feel that it is crucial to build community through positivity and highlighting one, we're all much more alike than we are different. Like when you strip it down, we all enjoy play, we all enjoy banter, we all enjoy connection. And so that is just critical for the wellness of everybody, and breaking down the division through connection, because then you see, I might have an implicit bias around muscular Black men, but then I show up at a cosplay event with a guy dressed as Dora and my perception just is blown out the water. Right. But it's true. And so I love that. So Liz, are we gonna see like a Dungeon and Dragons character perform pole?
Oh, that's really funny, Steve, say that. So me and I have a few friends out of Pole who also enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, and we've talked about putting together some sort of D&D show. Like it is going to happen at some point. Yes, exactly.
Happy to help with that. I don't know how my pole skills
theater, pole dancing, you kind of got a little like,
that sounds fun.
Probably on the pole, roll some dice from the pole,
Pole play. Nice.
So funny. I love it. So then, here's the thing. As you guys all, like even Ian has his game night tonight at 8:00. As you incorporate joy into your lives, right? And something I said to Liz that I want to highlight to the listening audience too is she is pushing herself outside of her comfort zone by submitting for a competition in pole. And the reality is we are meant for expansion and growth. Like if we're not expanding, we're contracting. That's how COVID is a really good example of when we lost connection, we contracted. And if once out of COVID, we didn't start to expand out, right? We got stuck in this fear. And so how has tapping into joy or things that really fulfill you and nurture you helped you show up and continue to push your boundaries, your limits, so that you can move from somebody who maybe had negative self-talk, negative self-image, to not only showing up and experiencing joy and cultivating that with the community and the people you serve, but also help you grow and expand?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when you contract, I had dealt with depression in the past, you know what I mean? And when you contract like that, like there's there's the one thing that is consistent is feeling shitty. And that's all there is. Like,
Damn.
right? Like
No.
nothing changes if nothing changes, right? Like, so like there's a level of which of like, if you don't if you don't like what you're feeling, you have to do something.
Something about it. Yep.
You
The
have to do
definition
something.
of insanity is doing the
Is
same thing over and over, expecting
exactly
results.
right. And so it became, apparent that like, I mean, I've always been a person not too shy of like trying something new or meeting someone new, but I definitely have pushed myself more, you know what I mean? Sometimes than I'm comfortable with, but only because like, what really, like, what do you have to lose?
What do
If
you have
what
to
you
lose?
if
Yep.
where you're at is not fulfilling, the worst case scenario is you find something else that doesn't work. Like, so
Right.
you're not really losing anything, really.
Well,
Yeah.
and Liz, I'll counter that. That's actually a win, right? The further we
Right.
step beyond our comfort zone, the
Yes.
more confidence we build in
Yes.
our ability to explore.
100%.
And so, even if I'm same level of, I don't know, contented with my romantic life because I tried something, I tried ballroom dancing, and I still don't have a date, right? Or I still couldn't find someone that I date for more than a week. I've still tried something new. I've still expanded as a human being by taking a step, and that's an act of self-love.
Right.
And the more I can love myself, the more I'm going to attract those people who are right for me. I'm going to find that love. So I love what you're saying. And this is so real. Like, libraries doing this Project Emo, which is a teen group down the street. I'm going to have to look at that Community Gaming Coalition because my friends are just in Worcester and they can certainly make that. They don't have kids with them. Like, make that drive.
Like, there's several, like, we're now at like different days of the week at different times. So like we have a friend that runs a game night like every other Wednesday up in Fitchburg at the Thirsty Robot. I run every first Sunday of the month a game day from like 1 to 5 in Millbury at Penny Pinchers. I think it's what is this, the second Thursday of the month? I think it's the second Thursday of the month that is at Greater Good every like 6 to 10. And then at Bay State on the, I think, fourth Thursday of the month, it's we're there from like 6 to 10. So like there's things popping up and people running events, and they're small, like as far as like there's no vendors usually. Oh, I forgot, we're just started at another brewery on one Saturday a month. I forget what it is. But if you're interested, we're on Facebook, we're on Discord. It's Community Gaming Coalition. But that being said, like there's an element of, and you were saying this, Kerri, earlier, I wanted to point this out, where you were like, everybody needs play. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, joy is about letting go and being one with yourself and being authentic and like being able to do that. And play does that. But as adults, we're given a lot of messaging that play is not an adult thing.
It's childish.
So one of the biggest things that you have to fight as an adult is being okay to play.
Yep.
Being okay to get out of what you think is okay and do what feels right.
Yeah, your unproductive narratives. You have to break them. Sorry, Kerri.
No, you're good.
You're
And
good.
here's the thing is, like, going back to joy, and again, this is for anybody who's like, when you find what brings you joy, you're a magnet. So if you're in suffering, you're attracting suffering. You're attracting people who are sitting in suffering. It's through no fault of your own, because we weren't taught that, but we're energy. And so if I sit in shame and guilt, well, I'm attracting people who sit in shame and guilt. But if I sit in joy, right, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You're never going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But
No.
because I do sit in joy, I do attract the people who can see me, nurture me, and appreciate all of that. And that is the power of, stepping into whatever makes you feel good, and keep trying and keep trying. Yes, Alexander. Yes,
Okay to play.
Absolutely.
I have to have all of you on here. Alexander has Space God Memoirs podcast. I want to say it's season 3.
Shout out.
I'll put you in touch with him, Liz. I think he when you say, you're unique, he's unique in the best ways possible. I love him so much. But anyway, yeah, so it's just for the listening audience, remembering that what brings one person joy may not bring another person joy. It is very unlikely that you're going to see me rolling up in cosplay with Nana at a bunch of Comic-Cons.
That's me. That's my space.
That's Nana stuff. And Nana doesn't
gone a couple times though.
It's hard for me to get him out for hiking, but you know what? I attract the people who can meet that need. Nana attract that, and then we come together, and we're in even more joy because our cups are filled. So,
but truthfully, I'm scared of hiking because I get bit a lot. Let's be honest. Let's.
It's your fault for being so tasty.
Right.
So damn tasty, man.
They're walking in there, they're like, "Oh, this is a buffet. This must be a free."
Chicken right out of my mouth. You're a tasty snack, which I get to quite often. So, okay. Anyway, moving on. With just 4 minutes left to go, we'll do round robin style. But is there any imparting advice, wisdom, food for thought, joy, jokes, whatever that you want to leave the listening audience with, Liz?
Give things a chance, right? Like I always tell people, try something new twice, because you're always going to hate it the first time because it's new. You know what I mean? And trying something like Ian was saying is not taking anything away from you. The worst case scenario is you have more information about yourself.
I love that. What about you, Ian?
Absolutely. I got to come back to Liz's point about the therapeutic gaming. Like what an incredible opportunity. So here's this like petri dish where I with social anxiety can step to approach, attempt to socialize, engage with someone else. And not only is it a safe space, because I trust that you set it up like that way, Liz. But it's a safe space for me to interact. But I also have observers, right, who can offer tips and perspectives on, when you said it like that, or when you came across like that, or when you made that move so soon after this move, I've tried that and it hasn't worked out for me. So what I use, to just get that very deliberate functional coaching around, social success. That just seems so rich for me, and I can't wait, Liz. We're gonna talk more. I hope that's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
Because I'm an unlaunched coach. I've been an unpaid coach since my adolescence, and this is a space that I need to enter, and commit more. And provide more value to the world with.
You do.
And I've been inspired by great coaches like the ones on the podcast with. But that sounds so completely rich and needed, right? So to be able to foster community and offer therapeutic tools and healing tools and resilience. When you talk about preventing PTSD, I hear healing from PTSD as well, because that's the full picture on resilience. It's offering both sides of addressing damage that's been done to us emotionally, socially, and so much of our early life is adverse childhood experiences are real, and they've happened to so many of us in pervasive ways. And so how do we learn to trust others again, but through having intentional communities? And so I'm just so empowered by hearing what you do.
I love that. What about you, Aji?
I'm just gonna say keep manifesting things, yo. Like manifestation
Go
is
ahead,
real.
babe. You got to share with the audience what
Nah.
happened.
So all year I've been like wanting to go to cons, like being invited to like certain events and things of that nature. And literally, I woke up this morning. There was this Kineticon that's coming up in July. A guy had reached out to me. This is like, I mean, he's a promoter for this event. It's like an after party event for the Kineticon. And he reached out to me and said, hey, like, I see your stuff. Basically, it was like, he's offering me like a guest appearance spot, I guess you could say. And I was like, this is so cool because I've been wanting to do something like this. Just being invited because of my energy that I put out there. And that's the vibe that I got from, that. And that was like something I woke up to this morning. So the first person I sent it to, of course, was this lady right over here. I was like, babe, look, this is what we've been talking about. So I was super, super excited about it. And another one too is, ironically, and before obviously I know we're running on time and everything like that, but my friend who actually lives in Chicago, he's been wanting to go to New York Comic Con, whatever. And I was like, yo, like, apply for the content creator badge the same time that I did. I didn't get it, and I'm okay with that. I understand that it's okay. We're gonna figure it out now. We'll get there. He applied with me telling him, like, I was like, bro, you have a good shot. And he was like, I don't know if I can. Why did he get the content creator badge literally like today? And I was like, I was so excited for him because he doesn't have like 150K followers. He's like, he has maybe 7,000 people. And I'm like, it just shows that the regular person can be able to do that. And he was like, bro, like, you manifest. I said, you put it out there. And he's like, I appreciate you so much for giving me the courage to want to apply. And he's from Chicago. He's not from New York. So he's got a bit of a ways to get there. But I was so excited for him. I was excited for him more than I would have been if I got the badge, in all honesty. And I was like, fuck it, go get it, bro. Go get it. So that's just my little
love that. I'm going to jump in just for the interesting time. But here's the thing. So kind of piggybacking on what Liz said, suspend what you think you know, right? Everything that we think is a story created based on experiences we've had, but that doesn't have to be a reality in this moment. So when you suspend what you think you know, you're not good enough, you won't like it, people won't see you, and then you put yourself forward, you will then be surrounded by what it is that you seek. And that's super, super important. And then secondly, piggying back off of what you said, Nana.
Yep.
Nana was told no, but instead of curdling and taking that as a rejection, he continued to stay positive and find ways to foster what brings him joy, which then within a week of being told no for one thing was invited to another. And so when one door shuts temporarily, another door will always open as long as you suspend the story that it's never going to work out for you and keep moving forward. Until next week, that is our show. Thank you.
This was so cool.
We love you. Please share, like, subscribe, give us your thoughts, and we will check you on the flip side.
On the bright side, not the flip side. On the bright